Robert Boyle was in the 1600s. This British chemist studied the properties of gases and came up with a rule known as Boyle's law that showed a relationship between gas volume and pressure. God would not have made the universe as it is unless He intended us to understand it. Remember to give glory to the one who authored nature. From a knowledge of His work, we shall know Him. Antoine Laurent Lavoisier. This French chemist contributed much of the field of chemistry. He spent time studying combustion, which are reactions with oxygen, an element he named, and discovered the law of conservation of mass. His devoted wife helped in his lab work. Life is a chemical process. Vegetation is the basic instrument the Creator uses to set all of nature in motion. Nothing is lost, nothing is created, everything is transformed. Marie Lavoisier. Marie was the wife of Antoine Lavoisier. She spent her teen years studying chemistry and acted as a companion to her husband in his scientific discoveries. She helped write the first modern chemistry textbook and helped to standardize the scientific method. She was also in that book, Women in Chemistry. She wasn't only his laboratory companion. She played a pivotal role in the translation of several scientific works. She was instrumental in the standardization of the scientific method. While her husband and her father were falsely accused of treason and executed, she fought for their scientific accomplishments to be told and published. Lavoisier's final memoirs de chimique, demonstrating the principles of the new chemistry. And this actually secured her husband's efforts in history today. So we wouldn't know all of these things unless Marie put these things down in writing. I couldn't find any quotes by her, though she has an entire book that she wrote. And I think that that's because in the 1700s, in the scientific field, women were not appreciated nor wanted of as equals. And yet here she is with her drawings and what she has done for our history. It's quite amazing. John Dalton was in the 1700s to the 1800s. Dalton started teaching when he was only 12 years old and had an early interest in meteorology, the study of weather. This led to a study of gases and chemistry. His own atomic theory supports the idea of small particles called atoms. Ooh, there's that word again, which makes up matter. Here's some of his quotes. Matter, though divisible in an extreme degree, is nevertheless not infinitely divisible. That is, there must be some point which we cannot go in the division of matter. I have chosen the word atom to signify these ultimate particles. If I have succeeded better than many who surround me, it has been chiefly, may I say almost solely, from universal assiduity. I had to look up that word, and it's okay to do that. We should. If you don't know a word, look it up. And assiduity is showing great care, attention, and effort. Persistent application. Marie Curie in the 1700s to the 1800s. Doesn't look very happy in these pictures, that's for sure. Marie Curie developed the theory of radioactivity. Ooh, wait. She discovered techniques for isolating radioactive isotopes and discovered two elements, polonium and radium. She was the first woman to be awarded the Nobel Prize. Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more, so that we may fear less. Be less curious about people and more curious about ideas. One never notices what has been done. One can only see what remains to be done. Ernest Rutherford, 1800s to 1900s. Rutherford conducted an experiment that proved atoms contain a center called a nucleus. He shot a beam of charged particles onto a thin sheet of gold foil. While most of the particles went through the sheet, a few bounced off at sharp angles. All science is either physics or stamp collecting. If your experiment needs statistics, you ought to have done a better experiment. You should never bet against anything in science at odds of more than about 1012 to 1. He's a New Zealand-born British physicist known as the father of nuclear physics. He discovered the concept of radioactive half-life, the radioactive element radon, and differentiated and named alpha and beta radiation. He theorized that atoms have their charge concentrated in a very small nucleus. He discovered the proton. He has a chemical element named after him. It's called, guess what it's called? Named after him, after his name. No, it's not Ernestonium. It is Rutherfordium. It's element 104. Dmitri Mendeleev. 1800s to 1900s. Mendeleev of Russia and Lothar Meyer of Germany were separately working on organizing elements onto a table. Mendeleev published the periodic table of elements, which is one of the most iconic symbols in science. We're going to be looking at that and maybe even building one on Minecraft Education Edition. Let me see. He's best remembered for formulating the periodic table and a version of the periodic table of elements. And I think 1871 is what it says. Look for peace and calm in work. You will find it nowhere else. I have achieved an inner freedom. The elements which are the most widely diffused have small atomic weights. Linus Pauling, 1900s. Pauling came from a poor childhood, but became a great scientist in modern times. He developed theories to explain how atoms bond and interact with each other, and the energy needed to break bonds. The best way to have a good idea is to have a lot of ideas. That's good. That's a good one. Nearly all diseases can be traced to a nutritional deficiency, which I have heard that before, and very interesting. Do unto others 25% better than you would expect them to do unto you, to correct for subjective error. Ada Yonath, 1900s to 2000s. Ada was the first Israeli woman to receive the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, as well as the first woman to receive the award in 45 years. She received the award for her pioneering efforts in discovering the structure and function of the ribosome, which some of you also might remember from that book, Women in Chemistry. I was described as a dreamer, a fantasist, even as the village idiot. I didn't care. What I cared about was convincing people to allow me to go on with my work. People always talk about the implication and applications of a process, but for me, the goal is purely about knowledge. Knowledge can become practical today, in 20 years, or in 500 years. Ask Newton. He didn't know there would be space research based on his accident with the apple. If one has curiosity, then one stands the chance of attaining a high level of scientific inquiry. Okay, so what I want you guys to do is to think about some of those quotes and see which quote that you thought was the one that resonated with you the most. Which quote did you like the most and you want to share with us? And also don't forget who wrote the quote or who said the quote. Make sure you bring that to the class. Don't forget to listen to the audio book that I've already done. Shirley's on it. And there's another video with the experiment, chromatography experiment that we're going to be doing. So we're going to do that next. I want you to print out your chromatography experiment, which is all on our website there. Watch the video and bring in your results and piece of art to class on Thursday. Make sure I have your Minecraft username so I can invite you to Miss Holly's chemistry class. Our username is overcastship206, I believe. So we'll see you on Thursday for our live discussion with the class. Bring in your chromatography experiment results, and I look forward to seeing how you guys did. Thank you, and have a great week.